What's up, guys? Welcome back to the GMoney Poker channel for the second vlog this week. If you haven't yet, check out my Instagram, GMoneyPoker5. And as always, I really appreciate if you like and subscribe. It helps out the channel a lot. With that, let's get to the action. Around 11:30, the PLO game starts. It's crazy action, a lot of multi-way pots, and people going all in. One guy's run up a stack, and I keep adding to my stack to match his. So I'm sitting with about 2,000 before I look down at Queen, Jack, Jack 10, double suited. There's a $10 straddle and an open to 35 from the under the gun player. There's a couple of callers, and my hand's good enough to raise on the button, so I pot it to 190. Now the small blind player calls all in for exactly 190. It's back on under the gun. He wants to go all in for 355. The hijack goes all in for less. I'm definitely not folding for 160 more, so we're going to have an all-in gamble fest here. Hoping I can run good and triple my money in this pot. The flop comes 3, 9, 10, so I have an open-ended straight draw. The turn's the ace of clubs, giving me a club draw. The river's a 6 of hearts, so I'm playing pocket jacks. I table my hand to speed things up. I'm going to lose to the ace 9 2 pair of the under the gun player, and then the small blind player is going to take the main pot with ace queen queen 10, and I'm down 350 to start. The all-in gamble fest continues in this bomb pot, where there's 4 players all in on the flop. I got dealt nothing, so I get to watch this one from the sidelines. 2 guys are in for 2,200 or so. Another guy's in for 1,800. This pot's somewhere in the neighborhood of $7,000. It's always intense as the dealer gets the side pots ready, and players' fates are going to be decided with the next 2 cards. The dealer runs out the boards, and this pot ends up getting chopped a bunch of different ways. The guy to my left ends up making the most. The 2 guys in for 2,200 lose about 600 each after all the chops. Gotta love Texas poker. Glad I'm in this game right now. One of the guys at the table gets a 5-5, 10-20 game going and asks if I want to join. With the lineup he's pulled together, I'm definitely in. In the first interesting hand, I look down at King, King, Queen 9 with Queen Eye hearts. I'm in the $20 blind. There's a limp, and the button makes it 100. A couple of the blinds call. Myself and under the gun call, so we're going to be 5 ways to a flop. The dealer reveals the flop, and there's a king in the window, followed by an 8 and a 5. Not only do I flop top set, but I have a queen eye flush draw to go with it. Monster hand, and the blinds check to me. Definitely an interesting spot. Do I want to check and trap, or do I want to go for value? I ultimately decide that with 4 players in the pot, I want to bet and start building a pot. This game's deep stacked, and I'm trying to win a big one. I decide on a $400 sizing, and everyone folds. No more value in this one, but I wonder what the solver would have done. I loaded a similar flop, and the solver likes a mix between checking and betting with top set and a flush draw. It's interesting to note that the solver only solves for 3 people in the hand, so I think given 5, I like a bet more. Either way, it's nice to flop top set and take down a decent sized pot. This next hand's a bomb pot, and I have 10-6, 4 deuce, double suited. I'm in the cutoff position, and the top flop's 9 ace 5, rainbow. Bottom flop's King 6 2, rainbow. I flop a gut shot to a 3 on the top board, and bottom 2 pair on the bottom board. The action checks to me, and I really got nothing, so I check, and it checks through. The top turn's a 3 of clubs, so I hit my gut shot, and I currently have the nuts on that board. The bottom turn's the ace of diamonds, which isn't any help. The under the gun player now bets 75. Having the nuts straight on the top, and draws to a full house on the bottom, I'm going to call, the button makes a call, everyone else folds, and we're 3 ways to a river. The top river's the queen of spades, and the bottom's the queen of hearts. I still have the nuts on the top, but I don't think my hand will win on the bottom. The under the gun player bets 200. There's definitely a risk that I could be getting quartered, but my hand's too strong to fold. I make the call, hoping the button player's not going to pot it behind me. He doesn't. He makes the call as well. The under the gun player says he has ace queen on both boards. I show my hand. The button mucks his. I'm going to chop this one with the under the gun player and take down a decent profit. I now look down at the aces. Ace, ace, 10, 9 with 10 high spades. I'm in the under the gun position. I open it to 80. It folds around to the big blind, who pots it to 275. That's what we want to see right there. Folds to me. He had about 2,600 to start the hand. If I repot it, it'll be a less than 1 stack to pot ratio if he calls and we go to a flop. I repot it, and the dealer says it's 9-10. The big blind decides to call, and we're going to head to a flop. There's more than 1,800 in the middle, and my opponent has less than that behind, So I'm going to be jamming pretty much every flop. There's a lot of suspense as the dealer puts out the flop. This is going to be a big pot. The dealer puts down the cards, and it's ace 10-5. Oh man, what a time to flop top set. My opponent checks it to me. At this point, I think everyone in the state of Texas knows I have pocket aces right here, so it makes me wonder if I should bet half pot and not all in. I ultimately decide that if my opponent has a flush draw or a straight draw, he might just call it off with how much he's put in pre-flop. So I say one word to the dealer: pot. This puts my opponent all in, and he looks distressed. He starts flicking his cards, which is usually a telltale sign that somebody's going to fold. He says, "Pocket ace is good." Yeah, buddy, pocket ace is good. He ends up folding and shows king, 8-8 with no hearts. I really wanted that $1,700, but I'm going to win a $900 profit in this hand. I've now flopped top set twice, and it feels like a sun run could be hitting. I loaded a similar flop into the solver to see if my all-in was the correct decision. The solver says I should be going all in with 100% of my pocket aces, so I made the correct decision. Feels good to run good and play good. Here's the stack update. I'm in for about 3,300, and I'm sitting on about 4,000. In this next hand, I look down at queen 7-6 in the $10 blind. Everyone folds, and it's just me in the $20 blind. I go ahead and limp, but I probably could open this hand. My opponent looks at me and asks if I want to run it or chop. I say let's run it for 50. Definitely want to gamble with this guy, keep the action going in this game. We both put in 50, and then the board runs out with a queen and 2 nines. I make top set for a third time. Now I just got to get paid. This next hand's a fun one. I look down at king jack 10-7 with 3 spades in the big blind. There's a few limps, and the players behind me haven't been showing much aggression pre-flop. I complete to see a flop, and we head 4 ways to the flop. I end up flopping a wrap on 9-8-3 with 2 hearts. Any non-heart, 6, 7, 10, jack, or queen will give me the nut straight, so I decide to bet 75. Only the $10 blind calls, and we're heads up to the turn. I've been running good today, so the turn is what else than the 6 of spades, giving me the nut straight. Definitely going to continue betting for value and protection from the heart. I bet almost pot of 225. My opponent calls quickly, and we head to the river. As the dealer goes to put out the card, I'm saying, no heart, no heart, no heart in my head. That must have been a jinx because the river's the 7 of hearts. My straight improves, but obviously the flush gets there. Betting seems kind of suicidal here, so I decide to check to my opponent, and this is where things get interesting. I'm looking at my opponent to see what he wants to do. He looks me dead in the eyes, but in an unserious way. He has an unlit cigarette hanging out of his mouth, and he's looking at his cards like he's reading a book. He pulls one card out and shows me the ace of hearts. He then looks back at his cards and starts looking at his chips like he's going to bet. I'm kind of in a leveling war with myself because I don't know if he's showing me the ace of hearts and then is going to bet and actually have another heart. Something about these antics makes it so I just don't believe him, and it makes me really want to call if he were to bet. But maybe that's exactly what he wants me to think. He looks back at his chips and then looks at me again and says, "Alright, I check." At this point I know my hand's good, so I table my hand, and my opponent chose ace 9, 8-6. So he made 3 pairs, but that's not going to beat my straight, and I'm going to take this one down. I end up racking up not too long after, and after some bomb pot antes and missing a few flops, the final count is 3,715, so I make about $400 today. I'll take it. Let's go. Hope you guys enjoyed that one. Got another session planned later this week. Gonna bring you that next week. I'll see you there. Peace.